Hello, my YouTube friends. I am back with you, and I am wanting to greet you this evening. It's a beautiful evening. The sun is just slipping down behind the trees, and I decided to hop on here and give you a little bit of information and history, I should say, on my little white schoolhouse that I used to go to when we lived in Missouri. So we have found the little school, and here we are driving by and just seeing how small this ball field is towards what it was when I was a child. And that ball used to fly over the fence, and somebody had to jump it and run across the road and get that ball. This school has been remodeled, and they put metal on the sides. Used to have an old gray siding, gray whitish, and they redid the toilets, they redid the horse barn. Everything has changed and is more new now, but they're still the same buildings except for maybe the horse barn. And I'm just really enjoying driving through here and letting the memories roll. And there's many of you out there that I hope will be enjoying this video as well, that went to school with me, that will be able to watch this video. So I'm doing it for all of you as well. I'm hoping this will be informative for those of you that are not familiar with the Amish religion, faith, and way of life, that you could have a better picture of what life as an Amish child would have been like. I remember the big pot-bellied stove we had inside, which we could not see. But my early school memories were created right here in this little schoolhouse. This has been several years ago, but I decided to just tell you a little bit of the Amish that lived in that area, and they still do. There's still, I believe there's still 4 districts, what they call districts of probably 30 or 40 families that attend at one place on a Sunday. I'm not quite sure how big they make them nowadays. That will give you an idea how many Amish are living in this area of Missouri. This is in Bowling Green, Missouri. I don't know how many dozen little sprout off Amish churches that there are in the surrounding towns and areas, probably 1 to 2 hours away. There's even one over in Kansas, just across the Missouri line. So, and that's where my cousin lives. I just found it so interesting to come back here and visit my old schoolhouse. We used to have the little wooden turner thing to shut the shutter door. We call it turners, I guess. But now they have little metal hooks that are replacing the wooden turners. It is summertime now, and they're not having school during the summer months, and it's summer vacation, so nobody is mowing the schoolyard, and someone gets the right to put the sheep or goats or whatever in that yard to graze on that grass during the summer month. So they also won't have to mow the grass during the summer. And so many memories flooded my mind as we drove by here. The outhouses are small and redone. Everything's redone. Even the horse shed where they put the horses in is redone. And I'm sure they do a lot of cleaning up before the first day of school this fall. And then all the ladies will get together and they'll have a schoolhouse cleaning day. And they'll clean that thing from top to bottom, the walls, the ceilings, and everything. And they'll help the teacher put their new stuff in, the new books and stuff for that year. There's just a lot that goes on here. And if you notice, they have outhouses. They do not have indoor toilets for this schoolhouse. We never did either. And they still don't. These Amish are just basically the same. They have very few modern conveniences. They still, even in their homes, they don't have running water, and they don't have indoor toilets. They don't have electricity. They drive a horse and buggy most of the time. And but they are allowed to hire somebody with a van if they want to take a long distance trip to see family or something like that. A lot of these people have family in Indiana, some in other places in Missouri. So they are allowed to do that, to ride with someone, and they just get a chauffeur, I guess. So I really had to think of all the times that we would walk to school, walk home from school. I think we had close to 2 miles to school. And we would be so excited to make sure that we're not late. And then the neighbor kids would come up from the other direction and we'd meet at a certain corner. And we knew if they weren't there waiting on us, then we had to kind of wonder, are we late? I guess there still is a pump there for water. So we each had to bring our own water glass to school. And then there was like a 2x4 ledge on the inside the entrance of the schoolhouse. And then we all had a place for our water glass inside. Here I am looking at the entrance door and the water pump is directly behind me. And I don't remember that we had a porch like this. There was like a shelf on one side for the girls, and we put our lunch buckets up there. And then below that was coat hooks for our coats and scarves, and then of course our boots were below our coat on the floor right underneath. And sometimes clothes and boots and stuff really got mixed up, and I remember how the teacher would come out there in the entrance and help the little first graders and second graders find their boots after all the older ones had stormed through there. And oh my. And I remember sometimes our boots were not tall enough up the leg to where we had that snow for weeks. And if we broke through the crust on top of the snow, it would scratch our legs if it was deeper than what our boots were. And I remember getting very chapped legs from walking through snow that was deeper than our boots. But most years it wasn't like that. It was just several times in my childhood that I remember the snow being so deep and drifting. I only have one uncle that is living here in this Bowling Green community. And I have a cousin that lives there and many acquaintances. My teacher that I had at that time, her family still lives there, but she passed away, what did they say, 5 or 6 years ago? Anyway, her name was Millie, and I remember that she invited the preschoolers to come to school so we could see how it goes at school and how things are done. And I remember coming to school, but anyway, I was not going to school yet at that time, and she said, just come on up and sit on my lap. It was so fun. And I felt so important that teacher wanted to hold me on her lap. And I went up there and I sat with her all through that class, and she did what she had to do. And then when they were ready to go back and sit down, I would go back and sit with them in the desk. And then she'd bring me a picture to color just for something to pass my time. Oh my, so many memories come back. I did not get to go inside the school. It would have been nice to go inside too. Our school would have looked similar to this one. I'd be really curious how many pupils they have, because I remember back in the day when I went to school there, that schoolhouse was full of grades 1 through 8. This teacher stayed after school, and that's something I remember so clearly is we started hearing that there's a guy that's stopping at the schoolhouse, and he ties his horse up at the hitching rack. Oh, and then next time we heard, oh boy, he was back at school again. And then we started asking, is he seeing Teacher Millie? Is he interested in her? And she was just my favorite teacher. It's the only teacher I knew at the time. But she was the best of all of them that I had in my whole lifetime, I must say that. Soon we heard and found that Teacher Millie was dating. She was dating this guy. We wanted to see him, or I did. I remember I did. I was like, I wonder who her boyfriend is.
And we thought he was so good looking.
And anyway, they ended up getting married, and then she quit teaching. They have a schoolhouse, but not a church house.
So let's continue the little tour of my Amish schoolhouse.
I used to feel so important to be able to stay after school with my teacher, and she's not living anymore. But I met her daughter today, and she would let me help her close the shutters on this schoolhouse. She would, and maybe it was another teacher that did that too, but my, this brings so many memories.
Can you open that door, those windows? Yeah, you can. I think you can.
Uh-huh. I didn't know you could open from the outside.
Yeah, look at that. Is that how you used to do in school?
No, we didn't do them like this in school. We had to open them from the inside.
Yeah, I see the chimney. Yeah, it's inside. It's on the top.
It's on the inside. But we used to come back here and play 7-up with a ball against the wall back here.
And this would have been the boys' toilet that you're seeing right here on the end of the barn. Wow, I forgot how weedy it gets in the summertime. Nobody mows it till it's time to start school again in the fall. And the sheep get to graze in there and eat all the grass. So this is what their outdoor toilets look like on the inside. We did not look in the girls' toilet, so I'm assuming it was very similar to this. I'm glad to see they have lids there. Now this is what the turners looked like on the schoolhouse shutters that I was talking about earlier.
I just picked the clover by the side of the fence here.
So what comes to your mind when you think of this as a little girl years ago before you knew your husband? What comes to mind?
Behind the schoolhouse, there was no windows behind the schoolhouse. This is where the chimney is. And we would take a big ball, like a basketball or something, and we'd bounce it up against the wall. And we had something for 1, 2, all the way up to 10. And if you could do that, some of them you had to turn around, catch the ball. Some of them you had to jump over it and catch the ball. We called it 7-up, up against a wall with a ball, a game that we played. And whoever could do that whole series up to number 10 would win the game.
That's maybe the original post there.
Goodbye, little schoolhouse. We had a very good time reminiscing and remembering what we did here at this schoolhouse where we got our education.
take me back to the old dirt road where Mama and Papa used to go. Let's sing all them songs from a long time ago and pine for them old days of yore. Well, let me run through the breeze like the leaves on the trees. Let me fly like the leaves when they fall. Well, let my mind go serene like a cool water stream that runs from the mountain so tall. Oh, take me back down the old dirt road. Take me home to rest where the mockingbirds nest and to cry through the green in the spring. Let's go back a ways to the old bygone days and the simple time we lived back when. Well, let the pull of the plow bring the sweat from my brow and the glow of the fire pull me home. Let me wind down my days in the sweet dusty haze. Take me back down the old dirt road. Oh, take me back down the old dirt road. Take me back down the old dirt road.
So they gather in the family's homes
For church.
They will clear out their furniture in large living rooms where they would set up benches, wooden benches. And those wooden benches are stored in a wagon that has a top on it and places where they can slide those benches, long wooden benches, and the legs fold up. Like, you know how a bench sits somewhere with the legs down? Those legs fold up the way they make them. And usually they'll have several cases of coffee cups and teacups, and usually they'll have boxes of forks and spoons and knives.
On that wagon.
Something I think you'll find interesting is they'll have their church starting at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then they'll have church till 12, and then everybody lets out, and then they take the benches that we sat on and they set two together to make a table and two more on either side where you sit, and the table is the same height as the bench that you sit on.
To eat lunch.
They'll have pickled cucumbers, pickled beets, and they'll have butter and jelly on the table, and then they take peanut butter and they mix it with Karo syrup and marshmallow cream. And then you would add vegetable oil to that whole thing too. My mom would add hot water to that to get it thin enough to where you could easily take a knife and dip it out of the mixed peanut butter bowl and spread it on a piece of bread. We didn't want to add more water than necessary, according to my mother.
And for lunch.
That's what they would have. And then there was always a couple ladies that would help each other bake enough bread to have church on a Sunday when it was like our turn to have church. Maybe my mom's sisters would help her bake the bread, and they each make like 4 or 5 loaves and bring it, because to feed a crowd like that, it would take probably 20 or 30 loaves of bread. And oftentimes they had maybe a slice of cheese to put on top. And then they would eat the pickles and the pickled beets with that. And then they would make big kettles of coffee. And most times you had coffee and tea. So that was a Sunday lunch and everybody ate together. And we always had the same menu.
This is one of their buggies that we saw in this community.
My mom and dad started off here in Missouri, and then they moved to Indiana. And I was born in Indiana. Then they came back when I was about 2 years old. So after 2 years, I was raised here until about 12 or 13. I have pictures of that house where I was born in, just a little tiny house. And I have pictures of the front porch of it and the back porch of it. And I remember Mom would tell me that one day she was working, and I guess my siblings came in and said that they can't find Becky. They have no idea where she went, and they couldn't find her. Then they started looking further than just our place, and they spotted me over on the neighbor's front porch. So the neighbors had a cattle gate across their driveway, and I guess I walked just a little bit up the road. It was within seeing distance the way it sounded, and crawled over the gate and up on their porch, and I was playing with some flower pots or something that was up on their porch. And I don't know that they knew I was there until my siblings and my mom came up there and said they couldn't find baby Becky. She's gone, and here we see her up here on your porch. So I wanted to show you those pictures, and those are in Paoli, Indiana, where my mom and dad lived before they moved to Bowling Green, back to Bowling Green.
And I am informed in this house, a suitcase was my baby bed. Oh my, there's so many memories hinged under this corner right here. We'd say goodbye to our friends and walk this little road home. We're on the way home from school now. It started raining, as you can see, but that did not stop the memories from flowing as we drove through here in the rain. It seemed so familiar, and still everything had changed. And welcome to the old home place. We are home at last. And here was our pasture field. Some years we had sugar cane in this, and we would take it to a milling place to have cane molasses made for winter time if we didn't have honey. Nothing looks just very familiar here. The buildings have been taken down. The house is not what we used to live in. None of those houses are. The only thing I recognize is the red barn that my dad probably built, but it has been overhauled and redone, as well as many of the other buildings. The one looks like our corn crib we used to have, but a lot of the trees are gone, and the fences have been changed to other people's way of doing things, so it's not very homey looking here. Here I can remember seeing how close my grandpa Lee's on my dad's side used to live, just around the corner, up the road here and around the corner to the left. Grandpa Lee bought this property from my father. This is Grandpa's house. The yellow house is the only part that is left. The old part was torn away, obviously. So this does not look very homey or familiar at all either. Other people living there, and they're not keeping up the place. And then after driving through the Amish community until about dark, we had leftovers for supper and a beautiful sunset after a lot of rain on this day. Thank you for watching, subscribing, and following us. And we ended our day with some Chinese food, as you can see here. And we ended up sleeping in the town of Bowling Green, Missouri. I couldn't believe we got to sleep in that town at a gas station with our RV.
Take me back to the old dirt road where Mama and Papa used to go. Let's sing all them songs from a long time